He ain't like church that makes you think as soon as you get saved, you're supposed to be this perfect saint. And whenever I see a perfect saint, they're usually in the casket.
All right.
Because only when I get to heaven is when I'm perfected. Because as long as I'm still living, there's something wrong with me. You may not want to agree with me, but you are not perfect until you get to see your Maker. I know you think you're just all wonderful and all perfect, and I know there are people that just pump your ego up, but there's somebody around the corner who look at you and tell you ain't all that, girl. And you usually don't want to associate with them, but God got somebody just waiting around the corner and say, you know, you ain't all that? Because he's trying to crucify some things in us to get us to a better us. Why a better us? So we can even give him more glory. And more people can see us and say, I remember when you used to be. And if God can do that in you, I got to go serve the God you serve. See, he's trying to crucify some things in us to show us off. He's trying to crucify some things in us so we can be that light that is on top of that candle, which is on top of the heater, that is shining. But he's not going to let us shine as long as we got some things that he's still trying to work out. So he's trying to work some things in us. And yes, he lets people see us be crucified. Why? So they can see us be resurrected. Because if they never see us go down, they won't see the glory of us coming up. What's so significant, and we're getting to Resurrection Sunday, we're in that month, we're coming to what is so significant about Jesus dying is that he died and everybody saw him die, but he didn't, he got up. And the grave was empty, and everybody saw him go down. So when they saw him get up, they knew it was real. And they knew it had happened. And when they see you go down, God began to crucify you. And the way he crucifies you is sometimes with the closest thing that's in your life. Because only the closest thing in your life is going to put enough pressure on you to cause you to change. See, if it ain't something close to you, you just go by it and you won't even bother with it because you say, I can deal with this every now and then. But when it's the closest thing to you that God is using to crucify you, you can't get around it. You can't get over it. You can't get under it. You got to go through it. And in going through it, God is like going through a car wash. He's hitting you with everything and things are falling off of you. And dirt that was piled up is coming off of you as you go through his spiritual car wash. And you have to go through it in order for him to clean you up. But when you get to the other side of it, you look so much better. You feel so much better. And you look back and try to figure out, was all that on me? Yeah. Yes, it was.
Yeah. That's good, Pastor. Glory. Yes.
We need to change our mentality about bearing our cross. Because it's not a fashion statement. It's not a badge of honor. It's a crucifixion. And there's nothing nice about crucifying yourself. And many of us don't want to do it because we don't want to die to some things. Not that we're not tired of the things. We don't want to go through the dying. It's not that we don't want the things off of us. It's not that we're tired of the way we're acting. It's that we don't want to go through the process of having that thing to be changed on the inside of us. If we didn't have to go through the process and it could just be changed overnight, we'll say, God, do it. But we got to go through a process because you really didn't get the way you are overnight. You ain't get as mean as you are overnight. You ain't get as hard as you are overnight. Things happen in your life to make you hard, make you bad. Anybody say anything to you, you ready to fight back. You ready to say, you don't know who you're talking. Things happen to you, and now God got to take a chisel and hit you and hit you and hit you to break the hardness so he can get to the root cause and take the root cause out of you and then begin to change you. And only through the crucifixion, or sometimes the closest things that are on you are the nails that are holding you to the cross. Only those things are what things are going to cause you to change your life. And what I found out about God, he gets glory in the crucifixion. He not only gets the glory when we're resurrected, but he gets the glory while we're going through the crucifixion. If we would could just go through and stop running. Jesus, when he was on the road to Calvary, won't run it the other way. He was heading towards the place where they were going to crucify him and kill him. And the only time I see in the Word where he got almost to the point where he said, forget this, is when he was in the garden. And he said, Lord, if it could, let this cup pass from me. But not my will. Let your will be done. I'm here to tell you this morning, if there's no dying, there is no changing. If there's no changing, there is no bearing. And if there's no bearing, there's no growing. Until you accept the fact that God wants some things in you to die, you're not going to change. And if you're not going to change, you are not really bearing your cross. That's why I asked the question this morning, are you really bearing your cross? And if you're not bearing your cross, you are not growing. And that's why you have certain people, I won't say certain people, you have some people in church who have been in church for so long, but are no different than they were when they first came in church, because they don't want to die, because they don't want to change, because they don't want to really bear their cross, and because they don't really want to bear their cross, there is no growing. Because God's process of growing us does not change just because we got attitudes. God's process of doing things in our life does not change just because we think we're the baddest thing and now we have stepped into the church and to salvation. God said, the same way I broke Peter, the same way I broke Samson, the same way I broke the 12 disciples is the same way I'm going to break you. I'm going to crucify you. And I'm going to pull what you didn't think would do something to you. I'm going to pull something so close to you, you didn't think it will work on you. But I'm going to touch something so close to you that you can't help but feel the effects of the crucifixion. Because I need some things to die in. Because what God needs us is not where we're at right now.
Stay right there.
I'm going to say it again. Where God needs us is not where we are right now. He's trying to prepare us for where he wants us to be down the line. Because God is always looking at the future and what he wants us to do. Because when he calls us something, we now become that when he calls us. Although we may not be ready to be it when he calls us that. But he knows once I call you that, I'm going to get you ready for what I called you down the road. He's always trying to get us to another point. He's always calling us what we are not. That's why he declared in the book of Romans, call those things that are not as though they were. Because that's what he does. Go back to Genesis. He called Abraham a father of many nations when he didn't have one child. He called Sarah the mother before she even had one child. He's always calling us what we are before we are. He called Jesus the Lamb of the Son of God before he ever was crucified. For we had a glimpse of the crucifixion in the Old Testament. That's when he was calling him the Lamb before he ever was crucified. And he prepared them for the whole thing. So when it was time for him to be crucified, he was ready. And the crucifixion prepared him to sit at the right hand of the Father. Because Hebrews says, we have not a high priest which cannot be touched by our own infirmities, because he went through the same thing like us. I'm paraphrasing. So everything he went through prepared him to sit at the right hand of the Father to be our mediator. When we get in trouble, when the devil, who is accuser of the brother, how is he the accuser of the brother? He's up there in heaven saying, God, they did this, they did that, they did that. And Jesus saying, Daddy, they've been covered. So he's always trying to get us to a new level, always trying to get us to a new place. So he has to crucify us.